Hey everybody, welcome to Serene Sunday. How's everybody doing? Hopefully you guys are doing good. And just let me get over here so you guys, if you want to leave comments, I'll be able to actually see them. How's everybody doing tonight? Invite as many as you can tonight, especially if you have a friend or someone who's in need, someone who's suffering from lack, someone who's suffering from the inability to acquire the things that they need. And that's what I want to focus on tonight, because I think that this is the time to do that, the equinox, right? When we go from light to dark, but more importantly, balance. Because when we talk about balance in our lives, we don't always want to just simply, see, the negative. We want to see also a balance of positive as well. And I think that's what we're going to be talking about as far as the Western Equinox is concerned. My name is Druid Nicholas Declan, founder of the Druid Circle, founder of the Druid Order at Blessed Stone and Wood, and Druid University, all within the next several years to come. Remember, if you're watching this on a watch party, no problem. Just remember, if you want to comment, make sure you comment on the live, which would be this, on Facebook. And if you're on YouTube, well then you could just make sure you subscribe, hit all those alarms and stuff like that, so you know whenever I upload another video. I'm uploading about 3 videos a week, and I'm redoing a lot of the videos I did already to make them a little better. So let's talk. Tonight I went out to get some dinner, and I just went out to Wendy's, and I was like, you know what, let me go out to Wendy's and whatever the case is. And so I'm at the Wendy's, and I'm I had some coupons, whatever the case was, so I used them. And so I'm at the Wendy's, and I'm seeing this like influx of homeless people, and I'm like, wow. And I remember how bad it was for me at one point in my life. And I remember having a food stamps card, and I remember how almost everything and anything that could have gone wrong went wrong in my life. And, getting a food stamps card was the last thing that I've ever wanted to do. I was so embarrassed. I was just so like, this is just not right. I shouldn't be, dependent on the government and this thing, the other thing, and all, whatever. But I had to do what I had to do to survive, and using that sort of assistance, I knew while wasn't permanent, would have been necessary and sufficient for me to acquire something bigger and better. And that's why I am where I'm at today, because of an act of humility. Sometimes when we talk, and sometimes when we act, if we don't act with enough humility, and we don't act with enough understanding that never underestimate what else is out there, I think we begin to see the value in acquiring something better. Sometimes I think that, especially now that we're focusing in on, the second harvest, we should really be thinking of those clusters. We should really be thinking of those things that grow in clusters, corn, grapes, etc., because they grow many, and they almost, when they grow wild, and there's so many that it's plenty. And I think that that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about tonight, because I wanted to compare a little bit about what I saw tonight and how I can try to fix that situation, right? Okay. So, one of the things that I was thinking about is this, that when we, especially now, we want to make sure that we're whole. We want to make sure that we're healthy. We want to make sure that we're complete. Interestingly enough, the word complete actually comes from the word Pele, which is Proto-Indo-European for full. And we see Pele in so many words. We see it in the word poly, complete, plenty, anything with that nature, we see it. And so when we think about this idea of plenty, it's a pretty interesting term to use when we want to acquire more things. 9 times out of 10, that which you've worked your ass off for will come to you. But sometimes you also need to give a nudge to acknowledge acceptance. And I think that when we begin to accept the things that we don't want, I think that sometimes accepting the things we don't want in our life are actually the very necessary things we need to accept before we get more of that which we do want. When I was thinking about tonight at the Wendy's and I saw those, it had to be at least, I had to see at least 3 homeless people in there just within 20 minutes time. Most to get a cup of ice, whatever the case is. Then when I walked home, there's usually about 3 on one block and 3 or 4 on the other block, for a total of anywhere between 7 to 9 homeless people in a block at any given point in Philadelphia at any time. And our, wonderful local government does nothing for it because, quote unquote, there's no money in it. So I was thinking about this. If we want to do good and we want to give everybody something, then we end up with nothing. And so that's not really any sort of help, really, because when you think about it, that $1 or $2 that you give to that homeless person isn't going to get them far. And it may put them at risk for something even worse. I say that when you put your mind and your thought, your heart, your soul, your mind, your spirit into focusing in on plenty, not only do you come out with it, but there is more to go around, and that which is to go around will help other people who are less fortunate. I think about what we can do ourselves to acquire more wealth, more bounty in our life. And one of the things that I guess a Druid is always thinking about is not necessarily what they want, but how to effectively communicate that to the god or gods of their understanding. So it isn't necessarily thinking about, just sitting there in front of your bed at night, on your knees, praying. Because a lot of that is sort of your own thing. But if we could start thinking about ways that we could communicate better and communion with the gods, or God of our understanding, I think, or even kindred or pantheon, I think that we begin to see the light. I think we begin to see the justice. What is it that makes clusters, as I was talking about earlier, so important? I think what makes it so important is this, that one of the things that we can do to acquire more in our life, especially when we are at a point where we really need that, it is important to think about that picture of grapes and vines and seeing all of the grapes growing and seeing that harvest and seeing it in your mind's eye. But not only just seeing it with our mind's eye, and I think that this is where a lot of people fall short, especially with things like the law of attraction with, Rhonda Byrne. I think that what ends up happening is that we only see it. We don't feel it with our heart. We don't sense it with our spirit. And we don't genuinely acknowledge it with our soul. And so what ends up happening is a lot of time is that we end up thinking about what we want rather than putting all of our oomph into it. And so when we use our Druidic tetrachonomy to sort of convey these sorts of ideas to ourselves, that's when we begin to radiate that to the kindred, that to the pantheon of our understanding, that to the god or gods of our understanding, and that to the mysticals, angels, fae, whatever you want to use, of our understanding. And so when we do that, we begin to level on the same frequency that they are on. And when we begin to surface that frequency, then we are able to see and acknowledge something bigger, something beyond. I also wanted to talk to you tonight a little bit about also contemplating that when we think about plenty, when we think about the grapes, when we think about that which we want more of, remember again to use your Druidic tetrachotomy, not simply to use your mind's eye, but also your heart and put that into it. Obviously your mind's eye and put that into it. Your spirit and put that into it. And your soul, yourself, your deepest, the deepest pit of who you are, the pith of you. And grab and capture that abundance, because that, folks, is truly what we want. You see, I think what happens is a lot of time that we all make choices in our life. I'm not saying that in many cases, people out there that are homeless made the choice to be homeless. I don't think there is anyone out there that wishes to be homeless. I don't think any out there, obviously there are people out there that, may feel that is a way of life. I talked to one homeless person at one point and they said, oh no, I do this as a way of life. It's a way of living. And, I don't know why that would be, unless that's some sort of either mental illness or philosophy that goes beyond and escapes all of us. But I think about this, what is it that created that person's position? Like I said, having had, and I still keep it with me, a food stamps card, an EBT card, a government assistance card, a county assistance card. Having had that at one point in my life, okay, what I did was I said to myself, am I going to sink or am I going to swim? And when you create a survival mentality for yourself and demand for yourself that you will swim, that you will survive, that you will live, that you will grow, that you will adopt new and incredible things, I think that it's very important to realize that you are doing something not only good for you, but you're doing good for others. By you experiencing and wanting more, okay, then you are creating an energy that is going to burst out into your own community and create people that come to you and say, wow, I feel different. I don't know what it is about you, but when I talk to you, I feel differently about myself. And when you create that energy, when you create and harness that energy, you begin to realize that there's enough to go around. A lot of people say so many times, Druid, there's just not enough to go around. We're not gonna have any air in 3 years to breathe. We're all gonna die. I don't believe any of that, because what that's saying is you have no. And say for example it is true. Let's say for example it is true. Let's say for example this carbon thing is true. I think that it's also true that if that is the way it's to end, then that's the way it's to end. But that's not the end of the story. I don't believe that. I think that there's enough, and I think that when we start talking about not having enough, not realizing that there's enough left, that's when we begin to doubt the power, the source, its force, and the course that leads from it, which you have to hop on. And so when we begin to realize these elements that are all surrounding this picture of abundance, we can truly make things happen. We could truly change people's lives. I told you a story a while back where I went out and I saw a guy, and he was homeless, and I didn't give him money. And when I didn't give him money, it wasn't because I really just truly did not have money. And I didn't give him money, and instead of saying, yo, that's okay, and I have to jump into these people's shoes to say, hey, listen, how would it sound to me if every person that I asked for help, my food stamps ran out, my unemployment ran out, my wife dodged on me, I'm by myself, I have no more money to pay my rent, I'm just like, I'm done, I've hit rock bottom. And then you're on the street, you're homeless, and everybody asks, hey, can you give me $1? Well, and they say, no, I can't, sorry. That has to emotionally scar someone. Every person that would walk by that says just no. Well, I told you the story that I walked by this homeless dude and I just couldn't give. I couldn't. And you know me, I'm not a socialist at all, but socialism and capitalism neither have anything to do with just good works. I think that buying a person a meal or helping a person out, maybe even giving them some information, and not only that, helping them by taking them somewhere and say, look, listen, do you really want to get off the street? Do you really want to do something for yourself? I think that's charity. And I think that charity really does go an extra mile. One of the things that is really interesting is that the person, and I told you guys this back a while back on a video, I said that the person then called me racist because I didn't give them money. And I said, you're calling me racist because I didn't give you any money. That doesn't make me a racist. That just makes me a person who doesn't have the money to give you, And the answer was, well, you're a white man, and white man has always, hurt the black man and things like that. Very divisive talk, right? Not, very segregated talk. And I also thought about this. I said, I wonder what's going to happen in a month or two when I see this person somewhere else on the street. And so, about a week ago, I saw the man. He was on the street, and I had to talk with this person, by the way. And I said, "Look, you just can't accuse people of being racist, man. You just can't do that. It's really clobbering a lot of people." So I walked by him again about a week ago, and he looked at me, and he said to me, "I don't know who you are." He said, "But that talk that you had with me, I'll never call anybody racist again for not helping me out." That's plenty. That's complete. That's Phil. That's Pele. And so, it was awesome. My point in tonight's talk is, when we want to bring more into our life, we must accept the fact that we also need to perform acts of charity. And when we perform acts of charity, and I'm not talking simple charity, whereas, a person comes to your home and you're, hospitable to that person, and, which is a very, very, I guess, very, very country kind of thing. When somebody comes into your home, you offer them a meal, you offer them food, whatever the case is. It comes from a very, very long line of generation after generation after generation until we get to this one, where a lot of people would have no clue to do that. But if we think about it, when we have more, we feel better about us. We then create that positive energy around others who also want to have more, and we then begin to build up and build up and build up, all of us, around our circle, around our Druid circle. And so when we begin to think of clusters, when we begin to think of grapes, the fruit of the vine, I think that the work of human hands that have planted those seeds, it's interesting because you could take, so much from that grape. You can make oil with that grape, you can make wine with that grape, and you can just simply eat it as a fruit. But the thing about it is that it's plenty. And so many people today, even though we are living in a time where, at the point of this recording in this realm, we have, the lowest unemployment rate in history. Financially, it's technically a great economic time that we're in. It's one of the best economies we've ever seen in the history of America, proportionally anyway. And so as a result of that, we still, though, will always see those things. And sometimes I wonder if, when we see a homeless person that walks by, if it's some sort of an angel of sort. An angel in the sense of a person who reminds us that the unseen is actually out there. To recognize our goodwill, to recognize our genuine feelings, to recognize our Druidic tetrachonomy, our heart, our soul, our mind, and our spirit. So with that, I would like to, let you know that if we continue to think about grapes, clusters, anything that grows in clusters, and have that image in our head, as I said to you earlier, Druids are one not only to simply say, let me just ask the god or gods of my understanding, the pantheon or pantheons of my understanding, the kindred or kindreds of my understanding, but let me figure out better ways to communicate with that which I am able to have a great conversation with, so that this way that person, I am now not only bending my knee at a bed at night, but I am now walking on the same path with the God or gods that I know to be true. And so I don't see how it's even at all possible to walk this world without it. I mean, I see a lot of people, who do not believe in anything more than this. You go, you die, you're dead, it's done. I don't believe that. And I don't believe it for the very simple fact that it can't be true. There has to be more to it. And, I never get into a fight with or a debate with an atheist, because I just simply, you lose instantly, But I don't see it possible where one loses the ability to even fathom something beyond them. I want to give you your Forreal to use. That is the Druidic mantra. I sometimes use the word Earl, but Forreal is more of a repetitive teaching. Sort of like a mantra that we're using. But the difference between the Druid mantra and the if you will, the Om, I want to say that it's something that is in almost all cultures. The idea of repetition, of thinking about something. But when we think about something that we want, we can't just simply say it. You have to know exactly what you want in order to attain it. Tonight's Earl or Forreal is this. Bounty never ceases to exist because I am existence. Bounty never ceases to exist because I am existence. One more time. Bounty never ceases to exist because I am existence. That's your Earl. That's your Forreal. That's your Druidic mantra. Repeat that over and over again. And here is your Druid. What I want you to do is I want you to go out, okay, if you can, when you go out to the store and you do your grocery shopping or whatever, buy a bag of grapes and get a small little cup. And in that cup, like maybe a little juice glass if you have one, nothing, not like huge, okay, something small, all right, and see-through. What I want you to do is I want you to fill it up with grapes. And if you're allergic to grapes, you can get something else, berries or whatever I want you to fill it up with grapes. And then what I want you to do is I want you to fill up the glass with the grapes, and once a night during this entire equinox until I'd say around October 29th, I want you to eat those grapes every night before you go to bed. Before you go to bed. Not right before you go to bed. Maybe an hour before you go to bed. You don't want to have any digestive issues. And always remember, whenever I'm recommending something as far as ingestion, always check with your primary care physician before you go ahead and take that advice. You should come out with about 12 grapes maybe, but make sure that when you put the grapes in a glass, it's kind of overflowing, right? And I want you to eat them. I want you to eat them. And as you're eating the grapes, as you're eating them, I want you to chew them very well. Savor the taste, the sweetness. And right now, you can get all kinds of grapes right now. They have, every single grape available. They got cotton candy grapes. They got, if you like sour grapes, you can get sour grapes. I'm not really big into sour grapes, but a lot of people like that sour taste. It's fine, whatever. Just the globes. That's what I want you to think about, the globes. I want you to eat them. And as you're eating them and chewing them and digesting them and enjoying them, I want you to think about whatever you want more of, whatever you want to see more of. This is going to sound selfish, but it isn't. For the purposes of just this Druid, okay? This is between you and the kindred. Make sure that you are thinking about what you want more of in your life. And take that and make that the symbol of the grape to you, okay? And start eating them. All right. And then finish them. And then that's it. One of the things you want to do before you eat them is say, is give grace, bless them, and then one of the things you want to do after is you want to give thanks. Okay, so every day do that. If you can't, have grapes because of the acid, you can also use take an apple, slice it up, and have a little cup of honey with you, and dip each slice of apple into the honey and eat that, and have one apple a day. And you're going to do this, have a bunch of grapes or have an apple before the end of the equinox. Every night before you go to bed, that's what you're going to do. That is the Druid, okay? And I guarantee that within the next 6 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, I'd say, because we're already 1 week into, maybe 6 weeks, whatever. Make sure that you're watching the changes in your own life. Look out for your own changes. And that's it. That's it. So I hope that you learned a little something tonight. I hope that you've learned a little bit of maybe a little way to commune differently with the gods or God of your understanding. Also understand that you can truly succeed in life by focusing in on what you need first before you're able to help another individual. And with that, thank you all for watching. Remember, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, the Druid Circle, and and check out some other videos on there. Like I said, I'm usually uploading about 3 videos a week, but yeah, that's basically about it. But I am very, very happy to share that with you, and hopefully you'll enjoy this equinox and the rest of the talks I have. Remember, here at the Druid Circle, I like to try to keep things as seasonal as possible, so you won't hear me talking about, you won't hear me talk about like the dead or death until sowing. And that's something also to celebrate, because obviously the ancestors are always with us. Girawen. Tasei for. Est Lemogui. And enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you, everybody.